how's things? Welcome to another edition of Talk of the Trinity, and this week I've got Dave Scott with me again, but he's not actually with me. So, due to recording conflicts, Dave is going to be appearing a little bit later on, where he's going to be talking to us about the maestro that is Mateo, who's joining, or supposedly joining, from FC Barcelona, the man behind the reinvigoration of the Catalan giants following the departure of Lionel Messi. He'll also give us his prediction in regards to the upcoming game at the weekend. Once again, I am sorry for all of the Baz lovers. He is still away learning his A to Z FCs. Yep, that's right. He's still on that scouting mission. We should have him back within the next episode or two, but all of that depends on whether he can get a work permit and actually whether we get the full-time gig to Dave or not. Anyway, first of all, we have to start on a less bright note. Old Trafford at the weekend, Sunday, 1-0 defeat to Manchester United, and it was that man, Bruno Fernandes, who scored against us again. He loves scoring against the Villa, and we hate him. We just don't like the bloke. He's a prat, isn't he, really? He's not a very nice football player. But we seem to be a bit deflated, a bit lacklustre against United this weekend, despite them having a number of games in a short space of time. They had the elongated match against Brighton, which went to penalties, sudden death penalty shootout in the FA Cup semi-final. They then drew 2-2 with Tottenham, who had that amazing fight back from 2-0 down. And then, of course, they played us, and we'd had a bit longer to rest because we'd played Fulham and beaten them 1-0 in midweek. The thing is, though, we started to look a little bit leggy, and the injuries and the unavailabilities of Buba, Kashi, Bailey, Coutinho as well certainly hadn't helped what we were hoping to achieve, and that was 11 games unbeaten in the Premier League. However, all good things must come to an end, and it's how we regroup from here. The defeat against United probably left a sour taste because we felt that we could beat them, and it's a testament to Emery and to the players at the moment that all Villa fans feel hopeful, no matter who we're playing, that we can get a result against these teams, even going to past fortresses like Old Trafford and thinking that we can get a win. And we did feel that we could get a win against Manchester United. It wasn't just a case of we'll go there and we'll hope for a draw or we'll get a draw. We felt that we could win. The mistake, maybe it was not playing out from the back. Maybe it was going long with that long goal kick, the header through, Rashford getting his shot off, the save from Martinez, and of course Bruno reacting quickest, despite the best efforts of Alex Moreno, Emiliano Martinez and Tyrone Mings. The ball still managed to find its way in. But we created chances towards the end of the game. The best one really falling to Dougie Luiz, whose header was cleared off the line late on. And had we scored that, would it have galvanised us to have got a second? Who's to know? Who's to know? Ifs and buts. But what we do know is that despite losing, there's always a silver lining. And that silver lining for you is that Aston Villa, according to Fabrizio Romano, have been speaking to Mateo Alemany, who is one of the footballing geniuses at FC Barcelona, and there's talk that Villa are going to improve his wages 5-fold so that they can link him up with Unai Emery, and then next season we can really start to carry on moving this team forward and build on what we've already done. There's a lot of rumours that are coming out across Twitter and across the newspapers as well, with Elmany coming in, and those rumours go from the sublime to the ridiculous. Of course, we're going to get linked with Chukwueze. We were anyway. Pau Torres has been a name that has been floated around before, but now we're seeing Barcelona names, and we're seeing Andreas Christensen, we're seeing Rafinha. All of those names, all of those names are big names, aren't they? Not just in letters. I mean, they're going to cost a lot on the back of your shirt if you get them, but they're big name signings, and they would hopefully push us on to challenge for Europe again next season. That's what the aim needs to be. It needs to be being in contention right from the off, not people thinking, they did all right because they got a bit fluky, but for us to be saying, right, we're going to finish around about where Tottenham are, where Liverpool are, where Arsenal are, where Chelsea are. We're going to be pushing at that top end of the league. Us, Newcastle, Brighton, get the three of us up there, and it's those names that would help. But big signings would also mean big sales, most likely. However, we've got to trust the process. And someone who does trust the process is Dave from the Irish Lions. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to him.
Thanks, Will, and hello to all the listeners and viewers of the Talk of the Trinity podcast. It's Dave from the Irish Lions here. And if you were watching or listening to last week's episode, the plan was that Will and I were going to chat and dissect the Man United game. But to be perfectly honest, there's been some big breaking news at Aston Villa in the last few hours. So I thought I'd break away, let the Cadbury Athletic coach himself chew over the fat of the 1-0 defeat at Old Trafford, and I would take a little look at who our new football director, or who we're about to sign as a football director. As I record this, it seems to be imminent. Matthew Alemany, who has all the money. See what I did there? Sorry, obviously I'll stick to the stats and not the jokes, but he seems to be inward. He has announced that he is leaving Barcelona, and it very much appears, due to all reports, that he's going to start as in a new position at Aston Villa at the end of this current transfer window. So he's going to stay at Barcelona for one more summer transfer window. I can understand that because they probably have been highlighting players they were chasing from the start of the season, and certainly after the January window closed, so they can't suddenly lose their director before this transfer market. So I can understand that he'll do the final job of trying to sign a few players at Barcelona and then head on over to B6. Lots of rumours as why he's leaving Barcelona. I decided I'm not going to touch them. That's just wild speculation. I thought I'd look at maybe some of the reaction to him coming to Villa and what we can expect and exactly who we're getting and what it means. So if I just hit the old share screen button, I did a very little PowerPoint presentation, which I hope you might like there. Yes, Matthew Alemany, and I just thought I'd look at a few reactions there to his coming over to Aston Villa. I mean, it's very, very exciting indeed for everyone at the club. I think the best little quote I've got is the brilliant journalist Luis Miguel Echagari, who's on Twitter, and you see his Twitter handle there. And he has a huge thread, so go and read it. I won't read it all out, but just a couple of tweets from it. He's talking here about his time at Valencia and, of course, Barcelona. And he says, alongside Marcelino, this was at Valencia, they turned a bottom table club down on their luck into a top four giant and Copa del Rey winner. Execs fought with him on decisions, and in the end, he left. The Barcelona tenure is a remarkable achievement because his post-Messi work has been key towards success. Remember, this was during COVID, Barcelona's massive financial issues. So Xavi's tenure, key defensive players in the market, brackets free, plus other notable signings are foundations of his work. Laporta's right-hand man, and his exit is a big loss for him and the club. So high praise indeed. So I thought we'd just do a little bit of a look through more of his time at Barcelona. Something went wrong at Valencia because if you look at Alemany's quotes, he was very disappointed to be leaving Valencia. They finished fourth and qualified for the Champions League twice in a row and won the Copa del Rey. There seemed to be some falling out on a trip to Singapore, a pre-season trip to Singapore. And his contract was, he negotiated his own exit there. So something went wrong. But look, if you what Echegaray says there, they did transform Valencia. So, and he had 2 very successful seasons with them. So that's really all you can judge. You can judge the results. Something happened behind the scenes. We don't know. But now, I thought I'd then just look at his time at Barcelona. And Barcelona were an absolute free fall. Possibility they could have gone out of business, defaulted on their debt. And then Alemany came in. And in the first couple of seasons, you got to look at some of the signings and some of the profits he turned around on a complete shoestring budget, completely transformed Barcelona. And just have a little look at them now. So Barcelona signings under Alemany. His first one, Memphis Depay. He was free. He had a good first season. Fell down the pecking order. And then he was sold to Atletico Madrid for 4 million. So one good year and a 4 million profit. Not bad. Eric Garcia, free, still at the club. Emerson Royale, eventually sold to Spurs at a profit of 10 million. It's so complicated because they entered into a joint agreement with Real Betis and Barcelona paid 6 million. Betis paid the other half. Then Barcelona paid Betis 9 million to get him and then sold him for 25 million. So a profit of 10 million, effectively, after a couple of years. Aubameyang, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was free and then he was sold to Chelsea for 12 million. So, I mean, the turnaround there, that's just a profit. I put these next 3 signings in because they're all still at the club and they're all free. And Christensen, Frank Kessie and Alonso. I mean, the first one, Christensen, he has been pivotal for them to get him in on a free. He's, I'd say, the biggest success of all the signings during this difficult time for Barcelona. Hector Bellerin was free, while not a rip-roaring success, was sold for 1 million, so, turned a profit on them. So what you can see there, players that maybe don't fit in, he's still getting a profit out of them. So that's pretty good. You sign a player, it doesn't work. Usually the Villa way is that we make a staggering loss on someone we sign and doesn't work out. And I just thought I'd put in this line at the bottom. Philip Coutinho, well, obviously, Alemany negotiated Philip Coutinho's exit from Barcelona, and of course, he's going to be reunited with him at Villa. So I don't think Coutinho's going to have much of a future at Aston Villa. But Coutinho agreed to a 70% drop in salary to join Aston Villa. So whoever was persuading him it was a good idea, that's a stroke of genius. So well done. And what happened is then, so they had this shoestring budget. I mean, there were a bunch of other low money signings and free signings. I haven't put them all in there. And then when things were a little bit more secure, they then started splashing at the cash. So they signed Rafinha and Robin Lewandowski. And I think there's who's the other one, the centre half. I'm sure everyone is shouting at the screen now. Anyway, they had another one there. But they went and really splashed the cash. And then why did they suddenly start pumping out the money and the 60 million signings again? Well, the explanation is a little bit difficult, but it shows what we're dealing with and what Villa are getting with, a really shrewd businessman. If you go to the next slide, this is Graham Hunter, who's an expert on the Spanish league. He was on TalkSport Radio. Laporta and Alemany had to restructure the debt they inherited, agreeing a huge loan from Goldman Sachs, transferring the short-term liabilities to long-term liabilities. This instantly wiped out the short-term risk and debts being called in within a year, leaving Barcelona in peril and unable to pay. Now, though, the risk is spread somewhat manageably over their future. They have a global debt of €1.2 billion, but their local short-term debt is smaller than Tottenham and Manchester United. So I couldn't put everything on the slide, but that just gives you an idea of what's going on behind the scenes. Barcelona agreed with Alemany there a deal with Spotify, and they also decide to sell their future TV rights to get money in. So they were able to, they're out of danger of going into extinction, and again, able to put in these huge transfer fees again. Now, it is pretty much dependent on them winning the Champions League. They're not going to win lots of money from winning La Liga or Copa del Rey, but they would get considerable income if they won the Champions League. So there's risks with their current business model, and maybe there's as I said I wasn't going to talk on why he's left Barcelona, but maybe there's some disagreements on signings that are about to come in. But anyway, it just kind of suggests how we've got someone who's a financial expert. He's not just a chancer. We've had a couple of chances in the past. I don't want to defame people on here, but we know there's been signings made that have just not worked out. So and have been disastrous for the club, and we've missed and lost so much money. So this is why I think we have someone who really, really knows his stuff. I just had to double check there. Of course, Jules Koundé is the other guy they spent a big whopping amount of cash on. So, how they managed to do that, they moved around their debt. They had someone behind the scenes, basically, who knew what they were doing, and that was Hamani. I'll go to the next slide. A bit more reaction. This is a man who is in demand. So the Saudi PIF wanted to give Mateo Alemany control over football operations at Newcastle before the takeover bid stalled and the Spaniard joined Barcelona in March 2021. So it just shows, that this guy was held in very high regard when he left Valencia. And I think the job he did at Barcelona has only strengthened his reputation. And then this is another interesting one. The Barca Times are reporting that Aston Villa have almost quintupled Alemany's salary. Now, we don't know. I don't see how they know that. They quote the journalist Ferran Correas. So I don't know exactly how they know this. But what is being reported is that Barcelona could not match what Villa were offering and just have to let him go. And what that suggests to me, I'll stop share. That's the end of the PowerPoint presentation. Hope you enjoyed it. But what that suggests to me is that we now have a structure in Villa Park where the owners will identify a key person and really go for them. And they've learned. So if you remember, okay, took us over when we were in the championship. None of this is possible unless we get promoted. So well done, Dean Smith. They wanted to push on. They brought in Steven Gerrard. My guess is they thought that Villa weren't big enough to attract a big name manager. So they went with Steven Gerrard, who was a name and hopefully kind of on the way up and kind of in the PR marketing package was this is this up and coming manager and he can attract some big names. That's why we had Philippe Coutinho signing early on. And then also, I remember when Kamara and Carlos both signed initially in their interviews, they said, oh yeah, really taken by the vision of Steven Gerrard. Now, unfortunately, that didn't materialize. He was no more successful in the transfer market than any other manager. And we lost Carney Chukwuemeka. And my goodness, we nearly lost Douglas Luiz. So close. He wanted to go. So thank goodness we haven't signed down. But they've learned the Steven Gerrard way of doing things didn't work. So Nasty Swears got involved. And it's like the business principle. If you know who the right man is, you invest heavily to get them. So now this is another big step forward from our owners. And it just shows the transformation that's happening at the club. That's enough analysis, I think. I probably bored you to tears now, but we are getting someone who knows his stuff and has a really good track record behind him. So it's a big step, and I think the future is bright. Of course, lots of other little issues. Season tickets have gone up, ticket prices have gone up. That's going to happen. I suppose if they're going to do that, they have to make sure the results are there on the pitch, and so this is one way of doing it. So we are seeing a big transformation at Villa Park. So I'm sure Baz and will discuss all these kind of things again in the future. Will ask me to give my little opinion on the weekend. I really would have preferred Wolves not to get tonked 6-0 by Brighton, partly because Brighton are our rivals in the European push. But B, I know what Lopetegui's going to say. He's going to say to his players, that wasn't good enough. The fans, you've let them down. Go and repay them in this derby against your rivals Aston Villa this weekend and put a dent in their European ambitions. That's what any manager would say. So they're going to be fired up for them and want to make amends. The backlash, so we're against a wounded Wolves. So on that respect, and we're away, it's not an easy place to go. I am going to say we're going to draw this. And it might be a bit of a blow for our European ambitions. But, Will put his finger on it last week. The boys are getting tired. We don't have the reinforcements, the injuries that come back from injuries, they've got no game time. So unfortunately, we might be just beginning to run out of steam. But look, if we end up finishing 8th, not the end of the world. I think we can see by my analysis here that things are very much heading in the right direction. Okay, back over to you, Will. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, for that incredible insight and also for the presentation as well. First presentation that we've had on the show. you never know, you might get a picture or two from us at some point. Hopefully they aren't Bazzy's holiday snaps, but if you would like to see those, just drop a comment in the YouTube video down below. Give us a comment on Twitter. You know, while you're at it, why not like and subscribe? But let's move on from there, and hopefully this is something else that we'll be giving a big thumbs up to. At the weekend is the Derby Day away at Molineux. We've got Wolverhampton Wanderers in the league, and we've only a handful of games left, those being Wolves away, Tottenham at home, Liverpool away, and Brighton at home. This one really is a must-win for our European ambitions, though destiny is very much still in our own hands with the 3 games that we've got after this, because those 3 teams are all gunning for Europe as well. And to think that we were in that conversation, if you'd have thought that at the start of the season, towards the end of the Steven Gerrard reign, you'd be laughing, you'd be looking to the sky for the pigs. But there's no pigs flying. There are no pigs flying, and hopefully at the weekend there will be no wolves dancing when we take on the gold and black of the Wanderers. Now, our last 4 games against Wolves have ended with Wolves coming out on top, 2 wins, 2 draws. Of course, earlier in the season at Villa Park, it was a late Danny Ings goal. Thank you, Danny, that got us a late draw where Jose Sarr slipped. The ball was lifted over him by Danny Ings, and of course Unai Emery and Julian Lopetegui played out their second 1-1 draw of the season after going head-to-head in La Liga. Now, Wolves, over the last 5 games, really haven't done too badly. They've won 60% of them, though in their last 3 games they have lost 2. None more high profile than the, I can't describe it any other way, but the spanking that they got from Brighton and Hove Albion. So their last 5, before we get on to that one, their last 5 games were a 1-0 win at home over Chelsea, a 2-0 win at home over Brentford. I was going to say 2 good teams, but we're talking about Chelsea here, aren't we? But Brentford, you know, very good team this season. Neither of those sides scored against Wolves. It's important to remember. Forest, they lost 2-1 away. Not surprising, really. Forest are fighting for their lives, and, well, it's a local derby in a very, very tight, small, atmospheric stadium. Then they beat Palace 2-0 at home. So their last 3 home games, they've won without conceding. And it was an early Anderson own goal. We know about Anderson own goals at home. And a late 94th minute Ruben Neves penalty that won it for Wolves before they went full of confidence to the Amex to take on a Brighton team who had just lost to Nottingham Forest 3-1 and had lost to Manchester United in the semi-final of the FA Cup on penalties. Brighton obliterated them. It was 6-0. They tamed them. They made them look like pussycats. They weren't wolves at all. Little dogs, if you like. Chihuahuas, actually. Chihuahuas probably would have put up more of a fight than the Wolves did. There were lots of silly mistakes that led to the Brighton goals, and Brighton could have had a hell of a lot more. They probably could have had 8, 9, 10. If we're being completely honest. There were changes made at half-time by Wolves, who were 4-0 down at that point, but those changes didn't influence the game enough, as they still conceded a further 2. And it'll be a bitter blow for Wolves, who some people will say that they aren't exactly safe from relegation. They're 7 points clear, which seems to be more than enough at the moment. You know, I'd have thought 37 points would have been enough to save a team this season, despite me predicting that Wolves would go down. Listen to the Premier League mid-season review preview, we redo the table episode that we've got out there. All Saints wouldn't have been happy with my prediction. But I feel that a defeat to us at the weekend could spell big trouble for them, especially if one of those relegation favourites, because I wouldn't say that Wolves were a favourite, but they're probably a candidate. One of those relegation favourites get 3 points at the weekend. Now, the thing with this is that Wolves are going to want to come out fighting. They're going to have a lot of making up to do to their fans for last week. So they're going to come out all guns a-blazing. We're going to have to weather that storm to begin with. And it's something that we tend to be quite good at, weathering the storm. And then hopefully the Molyneux crowd grow restless and we grow into the game of our passing ways of playing, because that's what's given us the most fruit, really, hasn't it? Over, I don't know where that came from. It's given us the most success over that 10-game undefeated run. We've got to be direct with Wolves. We've got to get the ball into our midfield and get midfielders running at them. And we need more creativity up front, because Ollie Watkins is a marked man. They put the wanted posters out, dead or alive, just stop him from scoring, because he was on scintillating form. No goals in his last 3 though, which, is it already? I don't know. He's gone longer without scoring before, I'm sure of it. But we're not getting goals from anywhere else in the team, really. Yes, Tyrone Mings bagged a goal against Fulham and Dougie Luiz scored the late one against Brentford. But apart from those, we haven't really looked. We don't really have players who are going to score a lot of goals for us. Okay, Dougie Luiz has got 4 this season, but grand total of things, it's not a fat lot. Our second top scorer is Danny Ings, which says it all, really. So hopefully that means that Cameron Archer will be coming back to us next season. But that's a conversation for the summer when we've got some special guests with us. This weekend at Wolves, as I say, we're going to have to be patient. We're going to have to let the crowd turn against them. We're going to have to start to get on top and get our shots off. But the biggest thing for us at the moment is the worry about the players' energy levels, their fitness. Ashley Young has looked tired recently, substituted in the most recent games with Callum Chambers coming on for him. Luca Dean has been coming on a lot more for Alex Moreno as well. And with only Ollie Watkins as our out-and-out striker, he's not been able to get the rest that he wants, because Jean Duran is not yet ready for life in the Premier League. He's still coming to terms with the game. And we saw him get into a scuffle with Luke Shaw, and that was about the highlight of his cameo against Manchester United. But for me, the issues are the injuries, and I think that's the same for everyone. But there's hope that Matty Cash may be back and Leon Bailey may be back, and they would be timely boosts to a squad in a starting 11 that's probably getting a bit fatigued, though a week's rest will hopefully be the antidote to help us recapture that magic that we had prior to the Man United game. Wolves have got Nelson Semedo as their injured out. We have got Cash, we've got Bailey, we've got Coutinho, who doesn't look to be back, and Boubacar Kamara, who likely won't be back either. So in the hope that Cash and Bailey are back, you'd probably be looking to give them minutes on the pitch. And for me, I'd be looking to start both of them, if I'm completely honest. I'd have Martinez in goal, Cash at right back. It would be Konsa and Mings at centre-back, with Alex Moreno continuing at left-back. The 2 central midfielders, well, Leander Dendoncker is going to want to put in a performance here against his old club. Him and Douglas Luiz in the middle. John McGinn on the right. Aaron Ramsey on the left. And then it would be Bailey and Watkins in attack. And some people moan and groan about Bailey, but it's these types of games that he'll come alive, these local rivalries. And if we can get him on the ball, running at that Wolves defence, which has been shaky, none more so than last weekend, and we'll be looking to step up and not have the same issues as last week, then Bailey causing them some problems, making them confused, getting in behind, running at them and making them think about what they need to do could just be the spark that we need to be able to bag a goal or two. Now, Speaking of a goal or two, Wolves' goals record this season is -21. As well, we're on +4 and we're 2 goals behind Tottenham, who had Liverpool have been able to not concede so many late goals against them, would be on the same goals record as us, and we'd be hoping that we'd be going into next week and above them. But let's get back to the matter at hand. Wolves, Aston Villa. And I think that we get back to winning ways. I think that we do weather that storm. I can see Wolves netting a goal against us. It'll be a Ruben Neves penalty or long ranger, bound to score. Most of the time he does. And Neves, of course, is their top scorer with 6 goals, along with Daniel Podence. However, I see us getting 2. I don't know. I honestly don't know who will get the 2. I don't care who gets the 2. But we'll open them up, we'll get the balls across, we'll flood the box, and we'll make the opportunities. And once we get 1, that'll settle us down. It will get the fans on their back. We'll get a second. Wolves may score. Well, they will score. It's 2-1. But I think that Wolves will equalise before we go and get a second goal to win the game. Now, the key man for me this weekend for Wolves would be Ruben Neves, and I think it's going to be that midfield battle with Douglas Luiz that is key. Both of them are able to create, both of them set-piece takers, both of them have got a goal in their locker as well. Neves, of course, has found himself on the bench a little bit recently, and Douglas Luiz has just been in fantastic form this season since the departure of Steven Gerrard, with his highest Aston Villa goals contribution for a season being this year. That's where I see the main battle taking place. But we'll see if I'm right on the next episode when we review the Wolves game and we preview the Tottenham game. All of these are cup finals going into the end of the season, as we know. But I appreciate you listening. Thank you for watching as well. Thank you to Dave from the Irish Lions for helping out on loan while Baz has been on his hollybobs. Let's see who's with me next week. God only knows at this point. You can see how much planning we do in advance, can't you? But have a listen to us on Spotify, on Apple, on all of the good and the not so good podcast hosting sites. Go and watch the videos back on YouTube. There's a subscribe button in the bottom corner somewhere. You can find it. It's fine. Find it like Douglas Luiz playing a pass to Ollie Watkins. Always finds him. But again, will this weekend be the return of Wolves and see them savage us? Or will the Lions show that they are the apex predators and we'll be leaving the Black Country with 3 points and still hope in our hearts in regards to European football? Cheers, Tar. Thank you very much for listening. Dave is Villa till he dies. I'm Villa till I die. Cheers, Tar. Thank you very much. Up there, Villa.